Eventually Imam collects his son's body. It's narrated in a hadith. Imam Hussein looks towards Najaf and he says towards Najaf, towards where his father is buried, "Oh father, you are the one who lifted the gate of Khaybar, yet you never had to lift a spear from the chest of your son. Come towards Karbala and see me lifting the spear from the chest of my son, Ali Akbar."
Abbas was the flag bearer of Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
He was like the backbone of the soldiers who went to defend Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
He was known as a warrior. When the battle started, he would want to go and fight. Abi Abdullah alayhi salatu wasalam would not allow him and said that you are the backbone of this army, you need to stay alive. When the companions all went and fought, he wanted to go again. He wasn't granted permission. When the Ahlul Bayt wanted to go, the Bani Hashim, he came again and he was still not granted permission. And after a number of people had gone and the majority of Bani Hashim was even gone, maybe a few of the smaller ones were left, Abbas came again and asked for permission. He was not granted.
The Imam kept saying, "No, how could I let you go when you are the bearer of my standard? How could I let you go when you are the chief of my forces? How could I let you go when you are the one holding my flag? You represent the hopes of all the family members. You represent the hopes and aspirations of all my daughters and the women and the children. How could I ever let you go? How could my tongue ever give you permission to leave?"
The day of Ashura, they had not had any water. That hot day, it was a summer day in Karbala, very hot, and it's very dry too.
Abu Fadl al-Abbas hears the pangs of thirst of the children around him. Amongst those children is his niece Sukaina, who pleads for water.
These children have not had water, so they're starting to have their cries. They've been having them since maybe early noon, and this is continued until late afternoon. So they come to Abbas and ask, "Uncle, we want water," and they're crying to him. So when he came to the Imam and asked again to go to battle, the Imam saw these children crying. He said, "You can go and get them some water."
Now the Imam, remember, gave him a specific mission. He didn't ask him to go and fight the enemy forces. He didn't ask him to go and defend Imam Hussein's life. He said, if you have to go and get some water.
Abbas comes forward. He tells Sukaina, "I will go now and I will bring you the water." He goes towards the Euphrates.
Abu al-Fadl Abbas wasn't out there to fight. He was out there with a mission, and the mission was to bring back some water. He goes to the battlefield. He pushes away a huge cavalry of the enemy forces from the water, from the river Euphrates.
They realized that they can't get him. So what they decided was that they were going to wait for him to come back. In the meantime, go and hide between the trees, behind the trees. So when he comes, they can take him by surprise instead of coming in front and start fighting him.
When he approaches the water, he enters the cool waters of the Euphrates. No one would have blamed Al-Abbas centuries later when we recall and recount his story. No one would have blamed him. No one would have said, why did Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas drink from the water? No one would have said Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas should have waited until his brother had a drink before he did. No one would have said that.
When Hazrat Abbas took water with his hands, he wanted to taste the water. Then he remembered Sakina. He remembered the children who were with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He threw the water.
He recognizes there are children who are thirsty. He recognizes there is a leader who is thirsty. He recognizes there is a sister who is thirsty.
The most magnificent act of sacrifice and selflessness was displayed at that moment on the day of Ashura. History has never witnessed a moment of selflessness as that displayed and expressed by Al-Abbas on that day.
When he was coming back, carrying the water, the enemies were here, ready to attack him.
He chose the shorter distance, which was through the trees, the date trees.
But then came the enemy and they cut his right hand.
So he puts the container into his left arm. Another person from the left comes and takes that arm out too. But he is fighting his way to get to the camps and do what Imam Hussein asked him to do, which is to get the water to the children. So he puts it in his mouth, which is the last option that he has to hold. And he's continuing his way towards the camp. And one of the enemy realizes his plans and he shoots an arrow into the container. The water starts spilling. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is lost hope of going towards the camps. Some history books say that he changed his path.
Along the way, he is showered with arrows.
All was in his mind is his Imam, as well as the children who were waiting for the water.
He can hear Sukaina's words. He can hear Sukaina's cries. He can hear the cries of the other children.
He was not going to face the children. Because he had promised them water. He was not going to go back without water. And at the same time, someone from the back hit him on the back of his head.
Abbas fell first onto his face to the ground before he let the standard fall. Because, as we said, the standard represented all the hopes and aspirations that the women and the children and Imam Hussein held on that day.
He fell to the ground and he started calling for his brother. He said, Ya akha, adrik akhak.
And when Imam Hussein alayhi salam saw him on the ground, he came fighting against the enemy. When he reached him, all that Abbas could say is that, tell Sakina that I couldn't bring the water. When he passed away, you could see that Imam Hussein alayhi salam felt the pain, and that at that time he said, really, my backbone has been broken when he saw that Hazrat Abbas has been killed.